He thought the chapter was closed forever, yet two words just reignited one of the most emotional connections in NFL history, and fans everywhere suddenly remembered exactly who Russell Wilson used to be when Seattle ruled the league. 5 years removed from the Pacific Northwest, now wearing a different uniform and carrying the scars of a complicated football journey, Wilson watched from afar as the Seahawks captured another championship and delivered a message so short yet so powerful that it instantly went viral across the football world. Those two words were simple, but behind them lived a decade of memories, triumphs, heartbreak, and unfinished conversations between a superstar quarterback and the franchise that made him a legend. This story is not only about a tweet or a celebration. It is about legacy, loyalty, redemption, and the complicated emotions that follow a player long after he leaves the city that first believed in him. Because when Seattle lifted the Vince Lombardi Trophy after a dominant 29-13 victory over New England in Super Bowl 60, the confetti falling on that defense-driven masterpiece also landed on the memories of a quarterback who once defined the identity of that franchise. And if you stay with this story until the end, you will discover why those two words might be more than nostalgia, why they could signal a deeper truth about Wilson's future, and why Seahawks fans are suddenly asking questions nobody expected this season. Russell Wilson's journey with Seattle began with doubt. Draft analysts called him too small, critics questioned whether his style could survive the speed of the NFL, and veterans around the league underestimated a rookie who arrived with relentless belief. Yet from the moment he stepped onto the field in 2012, something felt different. He did not simply manage games. He transformed them. He extended plays that seemed impossible, threw deep passes that felt destined for highlight reels, and developed a chemistry with the city that turned ordinary Sundays into emotional rituals for an entire fan base. Over 158 games with the Seahawks, Wilson produced numbers that defined an era. 37,059 passing yards, 292 touchdowns, and only 87 interceptions showed a rare balance between aggression and discipline. But statistics alone do not capture the electricity of those seasons. The roaring stadium, the Legion of Boom defense setting a tone of intimidation, and a young quarterback who believed every deficit could be erased created a culture that felt unstoppable. That belief reached its peak during back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. The first ended with domination, a performance against Denver in Super Bowl 48 that shocked the football world. Seattle's defense suffocated one of the highest-scoring offenses ever assembled. Special teams delivered momentum-swinging plays, and Wilson managed the moment with calm confidence beyond his years. When the final whistle blew, he was no longer a promising young quarterback. He was a champion and the face of a franchise ready to build a dynasty. But football stories rarely follow a straight line. The following season brought another Super Bowl run, another chance at history, and one of the most painful endings any team has experienced. Super Bowl 49 against New England came down to a single moment near the goal line. A pass intended to secure back-to-back championships instead became an interception that changed narratives overnight. Critics questioned decisions, fans argued endlessly, and Wilson carried the weight of that final play longer than anyone outside the locker room could fully understand. Despite that heartbreak, the years that followed continued to build his legacy in Seattle. Pro Bowl selections, playoff pushes, comeback victories, and countless moments of improvisational brilliance kept the Seahawks competitive even as rosters changed and expectations shifted. Yet beneath the highlights, tensions slowly emerged. Questions about play calling, roster construction, and the direction of the organization grew louder. Rumors of frustration circulated through media reports, and eventually the partnership that once felt inseparable reached its breaking point. When Wilson departed Seattle after the 2021 season, the reaction was complicated. Some fans felt betrayed, others understood his desire for a new challenge, and many simply struggled to imagine Sundays without number 3 leading the offense. His move to Denver carried enormous expectations. Analysts predicted a resurgence, believing a fresh environment could unlock another chapter of elite performance. Instead, the transition proved difficult. Injuries, system changes, and inconsistent results led to criticism that felt louder than any praise he had once received. The next stops in Pittsburgh and later with the New York Giants brought new opportunities, but also new challenges. The flashes of brilliance remained, yet consistency proved elusive. Each season seemed to raise new questions about whether the quarterback who once dominated the league could rediscover his best form. Meanwhile, in Seattle, a new generation of players began writing their own stories, building a culture that honored the past while moving forward without the man who had once defined it. Then came the moment nobody predicted. Seattle's defense surged through the playoffs, delivering performances that echoed the glory days of the Legion of Boom. Special teams created momentum swings that reminded fans of earlier championships. And when the Seahawks defeated the Patriots 29-13 in Super Bowl 60, the victory felt like both a continuation of tradition and a rebirth of identity. Cameras captured players celebrating, fans flooding the streets, and analysts debating whether Seattle had entered another golden era. Among the millions watching was Russell Wilson. No longer in a Seahawks uniform, no longer at the center of that locker room, yet still emotionally connected to the city where his career reached legendary heights. Moments after the final whistle, he posted a message that instantly captured headlines. "Go Hawks" with 2 trophy emojis. Just 2 words, yet they carried the weight of 10 seasons, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and countless memories shared between a quarterback and a fan base that once treated him like family. Why did those 2 words matter so much? Because they revealed something deeper than a polite congratulations. They hinted at unresolved emotions, respect that survived professional separation, and a recognition that certain bonds in sports never fully disappear. Fans debated whether the message was genuine support, a strategic gesture, or perhaps a subtle signal that Wilson still sees Seattle as home in ways no contract can erase. Reactions across social media were immediate and intense. Some fans welcomed the message with open arms, remembering the championships and unforgettable moments he delivered. Others remained skeptical, recalling the tension surrounding his departure and wondering whether nostalgia was overshadowing the complicated ending. Former teammates expressed appreciation for the acknowledgement, while analysts questioned whether the post represented closure or the beginning of a new narrative arc. Inside the Giants organization, reporters asked Wilson about the reaction. He spoke respectfully about his history with Seattle, emphasizing gratitude for the opportunities that shaped his career. He avoided controversy, choosing words that balanced professionalism with emotion. Yet observers noticed a tone that felt reflective, almost wistful, as though he recognized that certain chapters in life remain permanently significant regardless of where the next page leads. Meanwhile, Seattle players responded with appreciation. Some current stars grew up watching Wilson's early highlights and considered him part of the franchise's identity, even if they never shared a locker room. Veterans who once played beside him remembered leadership moments invisible to fans, from late-night film sessions to sideline speeches that reignited belief during difficult games. The acknowledgement felt less like an interruption and more like a bridge between generations of Seahawks football. But beyond nostalgia lies a deeper question that continues to divide analysts. What does Russell Wilson's future actually look like now? His numbers outside Seattle have been inconsistent. His role has shifted multiple times, and younger quarterbacks continue to redefine the league's expectations. Yet moments of resilience still appear, reminding viewers of the competitor who once thrived under immense pressure. Some believe a late career resurgence remains possible if he finds the right system and stability. Others argue that his legacy is already secure regardless of future results. One championship victory, another heartbreaking Super Bowl appearance, and a decade of playoff relevance created a resume that few quarterbacks can match. They believe the recent message simply reflects maturity and perspective, a veteran acknowledging his roots without any hidden agenda. Still, the timing of his words during Seattle's championship celebration leaves room for interpretation that fuels ongoing debate. Consider the emotional complexity from Wilson's perspective. Watching a former team celebrate without you can trigger pride and pain simultaneously. Pride because you helped build the culture that allowed future success, and pain because you are no longer part of the locker room moments that define championships. His 2-word message may represent an attempt to embrace both emotions publicly, choosing gratitude over resentment in front of millions of fans. For Seahawks supporters, the reaction has been equally layered. Some see the message as proof that Wilson never truly disconnected from the city despite his departure. Others remain cautious, remembering how difficult the transition felt when he left. Yet even the most critical voices admit that his contributions from 2012 through 2021 remain foundational to the franchise's modern identity. Without his leadership during those formative years, the path to multiple championships might have looked very different. The championship game itself deserves recognition for how it mirrored Seattle's earlier success. Defense dominated from start to finish, forcing turnovers and limiting New England's offensive rhythm. Special teams created field position advantages that shifted momentum repeatedly. Rather than relying solely on offensive fireworks, the Seahawks embraced a balanced philosophy reminiscent of their earlier Super Bowl victory. For longtime fans, the similarities felt almost poetic. In conversations after the game, analysts compared the new championship roster to the teams Wilson once led. They highlighted how organizational culture persists beyond individual players. Coaching philosophies evolve, new stars emerge, and systems adapt to modern trends. Yet core values such as physical defense and relentless effort continue shaping the franchise's identity. Wilson's message unintentionally reminded everyone how interconnected past and present remain. There is also a business side to consider. Professional sports often frame departures in terms of contracts and performance metrics, yet emotional connections rarely follow the same logic. Players invest years of their lives in cities that become second homes. Communities embrace athletes as symbols of hope and pride. When separation occurs, both sides carry memories that outlast negotiations. Wilson's public support highlights how loyalty can survive even after professional relationships change. As you reflect on everything surrounding this story, consider how sports connect people across time. A rookie drafted with modest expectations grows into a superstar, experiences glory and heartbreak, departs amid controversy, and years later publicly celebrates the success of the organization that launched his career. Each phase contributes to a narrative that continues evolving long after individual games fade from memory. The Seahawks' latest championship and Wilson's reaction illustrate how past and present intertwine to create moments that feel bigger than the scoreboard. Fans everywhere now face a question that goes beyond one tweet and one championship celebration. When a player who once defined an era reaches back to honor the franchise that shaped his journey, does it change how you evaluate his entire career arc from rookie sensation to seasoned veteran searching for one more defining moment? Share your honest perspective, because the future of Russell Wilson's story may depend as much on how communities remember him as on any final stat line he produces before retirement arrives someday. Fans, your voice truly shapes football history.